A 28-year-old woman shot in the chest and a 40-year-old woman shot in the arm. The 28-year-old died on the scene while first responders tried to save her. The 40-year-old was taken to the hospital and is expected to survive.
Hello, and thank you for listening. Today I am going to explain the tragic story regarding my cousin, Denisha Williams, who was the mother of 3 girls. She also had given birth to a little boy who sadly died shortly after his birth. Denisha took his death very hard, and she was visibly grief-stricken. The father of her deceased son is Jacquez Jelks, who is also the father of one of her daughters. Denisha was raised in Valdosta, Georgia, by her mother, Lakeisha, who had 2 other kids. Denisha was the middle child. She had a younger sister named Tanisha and an older brother named Lyndon. Denisha was the glue who held her family together. She was a talented hairdresser, and she eventually went to school for cosmetology. At the time of her death, she was on the path to earning her master's degree in cosmetology. Denisha was full of life, very loving, extremely caring, and family-oriented. She embraced her distant cousins the same way that she did her immediate relatives. And she was a top-notch dancer. She loved to dance, and it was a natural talent of hers. In regards to Jacquez Jelks, Denisha's ex-boyfriend, things started to fall apart, and Denisha announced clearly on social media that she was single. On June 26, 2022, Jacquez actually attacked Denisha. She was allegedly choked and beaten by him that day. Denisha grabbed her phone during the attack and called 911. Jacquez took off running, and there was an active warrant for his arrest. But due to her loving and forgiving nature, Denisha tried to move on from the situation without withdrawing herself from Jacquez, because they did share a child together, and she wanted to allow him to continue being a father to his baby girl. So she sought ways to stack her money up, including working as an exotic dancer. She oftentimes made clear in social media posts repeatedly that she was not a prostitute, she was not willing to have sex for money, and that she was specifically only a dancer. However, Denisha's ex-boyfriend, baby father, or whatever you want to call him, Jacquez, still grew increasingly jealous, even though she repeatedly also said that they were not together and that he could live his life, she lived her life. The only dealings that they had in common was their daughter, but they were not a couple. Denisha had the heart of a hustler and a go-getter, and that just fueled Jacquez's jealousy even further. He made remarks to Denisha like, "Hey, I make more money than you selling drugs." But Denisha was not fazed by him, and she continued to chase her money. The day before she was killed, Denisha was hired by a funeral home to apply makeup and style the hair of corpse. See, this girl was really on a mission to just improve, make money, stack up, and live her life. Sadly, Denisha herself was the next body that funeral home received shortly after they hired her. On the fateful night of September 3rd, 2022, Denisha worked for the first time at a club named Peaches. Jacquez was led to believe that Denisha had given a private lap dance to a man he knows, which angered him. When Jacquez appeared at the club, he was seen confronting Denisha, but she ignored him. He exited the club and re-entered through the club's back door. That time he confronted Denisha in a much more aggressive tone. This time he followed her to the dancer's dressing room. A dancer who saw Denisha walking into the dressing room said she saw a very frightened face. She said Denisha's eyes were full of fear, as if she was crying, "Help me," on the inside. Supposedly, a dancer was heard saying, "He's going to kill that girl," as if Jacquez had shown his weapon or told people what he had planned to do. And apparently, Denisha knew that her life was in danger. Another witness said, as Denisha was walking to the dressing room, she turned around to face Jacquez and asked him something like, "Why would you do this when you know I have kids?" A few moments later, Jacquez opened fire on Denisha. She tried to get up and he shot her again. And then he stood over her and shot her more. If that was not already a disgusting enough crime that Denisha was the victim of, listen to this. After Denisha was shot and bleeding profusely, one of the dancers, who was actually a friend of Denisha, stole Denisha's money bag. Yes, greed is just that deep, that as my cousin laid on the ground bleeding, dying, or possibly already dead, one of her friends thought to steal the money bag that contained the money that Denisha worked for. Back to Jacquez. He supposedly ran to a trailer park that was near the club. His friend lived at the trailer park. The friend's nickname is Stank. According to the friend, Jacquez still had Denisha's blood on his clothes when he went to his house. And then Jacquez's sister took him home. When cops surrounded the home, demanding Jacquez exit the home with his hands in the air, he refused, and squad was called in. They eventually kicked the door down and arrested him. He was laying on the floor looking up at the ceiling. His 2-year-old daughter was also in the home. This is an all-around sick case. Jacquez was actually with a different woman before he entered the club, before he somehow raged out and attacked Denisha. How do you leave from being with a different woman to go and kill your ex-girlfriend because you mistakenly think she gave a lap dance to someone you know, or because she was dancing and you disliked the fact that she was a dancer, or because you're upset that she was making enough money to not need you anymore? Whatever the case may be, I wish more women would take heed of the early signs. When a man is obsessive, when a man is controlling and just like to take possession of you, that's a clear sign that later on down the line, he might do something like this. There is no reason in the world as to why a man should be this jealous over a woman who was no longer his girlfriend. And if everything I have said so far hasn't been disgusting enough, there is more. On December 16th, 2022, 3 months after he intentionally killed Denisha, he was set free. Yep, he walked out of the county jail on bond. A judge by the name of James Hardy, who is retiring soon, actually released him on bond. Denisha's mother has started a GoFundMe account where she's raising money to fight for justice for her daughter. Basically, we need to hire a family attorney who can represent us to have his bond revoked. We also want to stage some protestings to rally against this bond. It should be revoked. He planned this murder. He actually maliciously murdered my cousin in cold blood. There is absolutely no reason as to why he should be free. And quite frankly, if that had been a white man who shot a black girl, a black guy, a black anything, and released on bond, the entire world would be protesting right now. They would be screaming how Black Lives Matter so much, it would be screaming to the ground. But since he's black and he was released on bond for killing a black person, complete silence. No one even cares. But we as the family refuse to give up. Our fight did not end and it will not end. So a link to the GoFundMe account will be added to this video. It's going to be posted in the caption. If you're able to donate, great. If not, please at least share the GoFundMe. share this video. And if you live in or near Valdosta, send me an email and you can join our protests, because we need as many people as possible. We need an army behind us, basically, to get justice for Denisha. Alrighty. Thank you all for listening and have a blessed day.